Whether it's your mindset, your marketing, or your models, I guarantee that you're making at least one of 5 critical mistakes that is causing major headaches, costing you money, and wasting precious time in your business. And if you stick around for the next 20 minutes, I'm going to tell you exactly how to fix it. As an OnlyFans management consultant, a majority of my day-to-day is spent talking to agencies about the problems they face and how best to solve them. And as a result, I have some unique insight on how agency owners think and the most common issues they run into. And you might be surprised to hear that nearly every agency, whether they're making $20,000 a month or $20,000 a day, makes the same 5 mistakes. After helping dozens of agencies correct these mistakes, I figured I should probably just make a video about it so that you don't have to pay me to correct them for you. So in this video, I'm going to tell you the top 5 mistakes that OnlyFans management agencies make, why agencies make them, and most importantly, how to fix them or avoid them altogether. If it's your first time here, my name is Francis, and I'm an OnlyFans consultant and former manager that has produced millions of dollars, millions of followers, and billions of views for my clients. This channel is all about sharing what I've learned for free. If you'd like to reward my generosity and not miss any future content, make sure you click that little subscribe button down there. I promise you won't regret it. With all that said, let's get right into it. Mistake number 5 is bad recruiting and poor management. I'm starting with this one because while it isn't necessarily the most common, it's easily the most harmful to your business. I've heard some variation of this question over 100 times. I have this model with tons of potential, but she doesn't want to make content. How do I market her? First of all, potential is irrelevant, and most OFMs are terrible at evaluating it. If a guy is 8 feet tall, but his knees break every time he stands up, he's not making it to the NBA. If a girl is an 11 out of 10, but she doesn't want to show her body off online, she's not going to be a good OnlyFans model. You should never work with someone who does not want to make content when content creation is the entire f***ing job. So many agencies are great at recruiting attractive women who fundamentally do not want to do OnlyFans. Part of this is because agencies assume that just being good looking is enough. Newsflash, it isn't. Part of it is that agencies assume models are rational and profit motivated. And this is going to blow your mind, but it turns out that models are often extremely bad at evaluating what they want versus what they're actually willing to do to get it. Here's a practical example. We've got an 18-year-old girl. Let's call her Tiffany. And Tiffany sees Piper Raquel make $1 million on her first day on OnlyFans. Tiffany thinks, wow, I see the lifestyle she has and I want it. I should do OnlyFans. But Tiffany has absolutely zero conception of what is required to be as successful as Piper, or the years of buildup that went into that launch. In her mind, OnlyFans is just step 1, take nudes, step 2, make TikToks, and step 3, buy a Lambo. Like many OnlyFans models, Tiffany is just a normal girl who is sorely lacking in discernment or moral guidance. Tiffany doesn't actually want to share nudes of herself online, and she's only willing to make extremely low-effort content like TikTok dances for socials. But she figures she'll be a millionaire in a couple of months, so she can just suck it up. And at the end of the day, she'll be able to finance a Camaro at 20% APR and buy knockoff Gucci in the Bahamas. But Tiffany quickly discovers that it's not that easy. A few months in, and she's on the internet spread eagle for all to see. But nobody's watching because her social content is shit. Nobody is paying besides a handful of guys that she went to high school with, and she's basically destroyed her local reputation and image for a few $100. By the time she gets the DM from your agency offering to help her out, she's deep in the throes of sunk cost fallacy. She's made a decision that irreparably damaged her social life and actively psychologically harms her on a daily basis, and you've thrown her a life raft. Now she's found someone who can help her out and make her sacrifice financially worth it. However, the fact that Tiffany made a series of shitty decisions and hates everything about what she's doing is now your problem. And every day it's an uphill battle to get her to do the work. And you can't really blame her. She's an 18-year-old girl who made an irreversible life decision based on TikToks. She thought that signing with an agency meant that you would do everything for her. And while it's true that you as an agency should be doing a lion's share of the work related to OnlyFans, no amount of work on your end is going to make a successful content creator out of someone who hates content creation. And the solution to this is super simple. You should never have worked with Tiffany in the first place. You need to learn to recognize Tiffany's on site, and you need to only work with models who understand the work that is required to be successful and actually want to do it. Too many agencies have a scarcity mindset. They take any model they can find and they just deal with the headaches. But believe it or not, you have the ability to choose who you work with, and a huge part of your recruiting process should be psychological evaluation. If the girl doesn't have at least mild exhibitionist tendencies and at least some desire to be a social media influencer, don't work with them. Full stop. Nearly every agency that I know has some sort of intake form or interview or questionnaire where they ask, how many hours are you willing to work on content per week? By the way, every girl who fills out the form will 100% lie about this. But 0 agencies that I have worked with have a question that asks, would you be a content creator even if it made you $0? We are in an industry where if an even slightly above average looking girl is willing to do the bare minimum, that is to say, do something mildly interesting in front of a camera for 20 hours a week, they can be millionaires inside of a year. OnlyFans is not going to be around forever, and you need to optimize for people who have a strong work ethic, a desire to compete, and a sense of urgency. So select for people that actually want to be content creators and influencers. If I were still managing, I would take a 6 who wants to eat, sleep, and breathe content over a 10 who wants the world to be handed to her on a silver platter every day of the week. I guarantee your agency has at least one model with superstar potential.
She's got the looks, the attitude, the talent, and you know that with the right strategy, she could earn 6 or even 7 figures a month. But content that used to go viral isn't getting views anymore. Pages aren't growing how they should be, and you're tired of banging your head against the wall. I can fix that for you. I've spent every day of the last 3 years helping OnlyFans creators meet their potential and make millions of dollars, tens of millions of followers, and billions of views through organic social.
And now I'm offering those skills to you as a consultant. I will build your models a multi-million-dollar brand from scratch. And I'll give you the exact processes and frameworks I've used to take creators to the very top on OnlyFans.
If you've got a model you truly believe in, click the first link in the description, fill out my consulting questionnaire, and book your consult sooner rather than later. I only take on 3 clients a month, and spots fill up quick. Now, back to the video.
Mistake number 4 is misunderstanding mastery or lack of humility. This is going to sound a lot like a rant about a personal pet peeve, and to some extent it is. But I promise that there's a payoff and a legitimate reason why this mistake is so harmful to agencies. I recently had a gentleman message me some sort of tit-for-tat proposal where I promote his Reddit coaching service. He started the message with, basically, I'm a Reddit guy. I mastered it. I've been doing it since 2022 or something like that. Mastery is a word that gets thrown around very lightly in this industry, so I'm going to say this as bluntly as possible. Remove the word mastery from your vocabulary. Most people in this industry have never owned another business or even had a serious job. 95% of new entrants into OFM are just guys in their early 20s who got tired of being poor. And if that's you, this isn't an insult. Nothing makes me happier than seeing young bucks hustle and get after it. But brother, you've barely mastered wiping your own ass. Absolutely nobody has mastered a single element of this business. I regularly speak with agencies who are making millions of dollars a month. They do not call themselves masters of anything, and they would be embarrassed to hear someone on their staff make any claim to mastery. This is the Set Lighting Technician's Handbook. It is a 600-page textbook that explains in excruciating detail the roles, equipment, electrical engineering basics, philosophy, practice, and craft of operating lights on a film set. The author is a cinematographer who's been working on sets for almost 40 years, and he's encountered every possible situation regarding set lighting and detailed it in this book to the best of his ability. This is someone who has committed their entire lives to the pursuit of a singular goal, and until you have made that commitment to a thing and then followed your obsession to the point that you have forgotten more about it than 99% of people who have ever lived will ever know about that thing, you have not mastered it. So stop saying that you have. Here's why this matters. When you arbitrarily decide that you've mastered something, what you're saying is, I no longer have anything to learn or improve at. And in an industry as young and dynamic as social media and OFM, that is true of exactly 0 people. And it's an incredibly limiting belief. I talk to agency owners who genuinely believe they have mastered Instagram or some such, and when their performance inevitably falls off a cliff and they come to me for advice, their assumption is that the platform is broken and anyone who's performing better than them is just lucky. And in nearly every single one of these scenarios, the reality is actually that they have just always sucked at social media, but favorable platform conditions hid that fact from them. They started doing something at a time when anyone could succeed, and they mistook their own luck for genius. And now, despite having been doing Instagram for 3+ years, they have to learn from scratch how to make content people actually want to watch. But if they had just approached marketing with humility instead of arrogance, they would have an additional 3 years of growth and experience instead of 3 years of stagnation. Mistake number 3 is spinning too many plates. This is perhaps the most common mistake I see, especially for new OFMs. When you get started in this business, especially if you're using huge creators like Sophie Rain as a benchmark, it's natural to assume that more is better. And it's technically true. If you're firing on all cylinders and you're producing good content, virtually nothing beats being able to distribute that content across as many different platforms and accounts as possible. However, this fails to take into account skill and knowledge deficiencies and the resource and opportunity cost of multi-platform distribution. Let's assume that you have 40 hours a week to devote to OFM marketing, and you're starting from zero. You decide to devote 10 hours to 4 different platforms. On paper, this looks like a smart diversification strategy. You're just hedging your bets. But in reality, what you're actually doing is guaranteeing failure across the board. Because here's the hard truth. You are competing against agencies and creators who are spending 60, 70, or 80 man-hours a week obsessing over just TikTok or just Reddit and paid ads. And they are deep diving into the psychology of that user base, tracking every algorithmic shift, and split testing hundreds of variables. So if you come in with your 10 hours a week of divided attention, those specialists are going to eat your lunch every single time. Every social media platform is a distinct ecosystem with its own language, culture, and algorithmic preferences. Instagram Reels isn't just vertical video. It requires understanding specific trend cycles, hooks, and shadow ban triggers that are totally different from TikToks. Especially when you're new, when you spread yourself too thin, you're going to end up posting generic low-effort content that doesn't perform well on any platform. You need to identify 1, maybe 2 high-leverage traffic sources. Usually that's going to be short-form video like TikToks or Reels, and ignore everything else. Do not try to be everywhere. Commit to excellence on one platform. And then once you're generating consistent cash flow and you can afford to hire specialists to handle other platforms, you expand. Until then, pick your weapon and learn how to use it. Quick break. Stick with me for 30 seconds and I'll give you a free resource that will add hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of value to your OnlyFans business. Brand is the difference between the top creators on OnlyFans and everyone else. You might think creators like Camila Araujo and Sophie Rain just won the viral lottery, but brand is not an accident. And if you understand the principles behind it, you can recreate their results for yourself. I've proved that by spending the last 3 years taking creators from flat broke to millionaires with millions of followers. And I have created a tool to help you do the same. Linked in the description is a step-by-step walkthrough of the exact framework I use to build top 0.01% brands for OF creators in the form of a free PDF workbook. And if you download it, go through it with your models, and execute on the strategy that you create, I guarantee 2026 will be your biggest year in OFM. That's all. Back to the video. Mistake number 2. Failure to invest in brand. If you've watched any of my videos, this one should not come as a surprise. This mistake is the one that separates the agencies making a few grand a month from the ones making millions. Most agencies think of models as interchangeable commodities. They think, she's hot, she's willing to get naked, that's good enough. And for the first few years of OnlyFans and the COVID boom, the golden era of OFM, that might have been true. But today, relying on physical appearance alone is a losing proposition. The mistake here is failing to build branded, differentiated creators that stand out from the millions of OnlyFans models who are still shaking their asses around like it's 2019.
Go back, pick it up, turn around, make that ass shake, then drop that.
I've defined and explained how to build strong, differentiated brands for creators in plenty of my content. Check out this video here for a detailed breakdown. But to make a long story short, if you're not investing in brand in 2026, you are entering a market with low barrier to entry and ferocious competition where you're fighting for scraps against millions of other people selling the exact same product. And that's the opposite of what you want. You want a monopoly. The goal of every business is to be a monopoly producer of a good or a service because monopolies are overpowered. Since you can't legally monopolize the concept of hot girl, you have to build a monopoly through differentiation. That is what you need to do for your models. You need to stop trying to compete with the entire internet and start being a big fish in a small pond. You need to identify a specific, underserved segment of the market, ideally something so unique that nobody even tries to replicate it, and dominate that completely. And finally, mistake number 1, mismanaging your models. The final mistake is the one that consistently surprises me because it's literally in the name of our industry. OnlyFans management. The reason this mistake is so common is simple, and it's identical to the reason that so many agencies make mistake number 5. They're not thinking like the model. If you put your agency owner brain into an OnlyFans model's body, you would never hire an agency. Why? Because you could easily figure out how to do it all yourself. You would hire a team, you would learn organic social media marketing, and you'd become an influencer. You'd make more money than an agency ever could, and you'd keep 100% of the profit. So why does OnlyFans management exist? Simple. The average OnlyFans model is either too intimidated, too lazy, or insufficiently intelligent to want to learn or do any of that. They have no idea what they're doing, and they are paying you to tell them what to do. This entire business is predicated on the model outsourcing all of the requirements for their success to a third party, you. And yet, I see so many agencies leave content creation, ideation, and posting in the hands of their models, and then they wonder why their results are shit and their models leave. They onboard models who are struggling as independents or had poor results with other agencies, and they never stop to think why that might have been the case. And the answer is that very few agencies actually manage their models. They take instruction from the models, they kowtow to their preferences and demands, and they accept the arbitrary limitations that the model sets, even when those limitations are harmful to the model's success. My experience has almost universally been that the more the model is allowed to participate in any decision-making, the lower the quality of those decisions will be. The agency-model relationship should be much more like an employer-employee relationship. Your job is to set reasonable expectations of the work required from the model, enshrine those expectations in contractual language. For example, you must make 21 unique pieces of content a week or some such, and then enforce those expectations just as you would with an employee. And if the model fails to meet those expectations, there should be penalties associated with that, whether that's additional fees or outright termination of the contract. Many of you probably hear this and say, I could never get a model to agree to doing more work, let alone penalizing her for failing to meet expectations. First of all, that just means you're a bad negotiator. Every modern employment agreement for any serious organization contains language regarding performance expectations. These models are literally paying you to tell them what to do. So don't be afraid to tell them what they need to do. Second, this is a fundamental misapprehension of female nature. Women generally respond extremely positively to authority. If they respect and trust you as a business person, and at some level they have to because they signed a contract with you saying as much, when you set a firm standard and enforce it, they will happily abide by it. Conversely, the more you treat your model like a child instead of a professional and accept the excuses they make for failing to meet the standards required for their success, the more they're going to continue to fail to meet those standards. It's extremely rare that you're going to run into a model that is a normal, well-adjusted person that you can have a standard business relationship with. Every model is going to require a different touch. Some want a proxy father figure, some want a friend, some want a therapist, and so on. Your job is to figure that out and extract as much performance out of them as possible for both your and their benefit. Third and finally, if they understand the effort that you're putting in, they're much more likely to match that effort. Models don't magically understand the one-to-one correlation between effort and success the way that you do. They don't see the work that you put in on the back end to produce the results that you do, unless you show or explain it to them. Make yourself visible. When you do something that results in a 20% month-over-month increase in revenue, take the time to explain to the model not necessarily exactly how you did it, but that you are provably responsible for it. Many models suffer under the delusion that they are responsible for their results over time. This is an incredibly common issue that I see all the time with consulting clients. They'll work with a model for a year, they'll bring her from 0 to 100K plus a month, but they don't take any credit or demonstrate the things that they've done to produce that success. And over time, the model convinces herself that she was responsible for that success and she no longer needs the agency. Then she leaves, her results immediately go to shit, she signs with another agency, and then repeats that cycle until she's burnt out. It's a bad result for everyone involved. Don't let yourself get caught in it. Congratulations! If you made it this far, you can now easily avoid the 5 biggest mistakes that OFM agencies make. My hope is that this will save you tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars and months of headaches over the course of your career. Do me a quick favor. If you got value out of this content, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment sharing a mistake you'd like to help others avoid in their entrepreneurial journey. Check out the links in the description. The first link is to hire me as a consultant. The second link is to download my free brand blueprint workbook. And the third link is access to my Telegram community. And everything else are the links to the content I referenced earlier in the video. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.